Hello beautiful people, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. It's Halloween! And all that nonsense. Just one more plastic holiday in the calendar. Never mind Halloween, it's no longer summer! Our clocks changed last night. We have officially left British summertime. Oh my goodness, and doesn't it show it out there? By the way, it's the end of month 54, I think. Yeah, month 54. And you can probably tell by the apparent colour of my skin, I look so pale. It is grotty outdoors. It is so grotty. It's like end of British summertime. Right, that's it. Straight into winter. It's blowing a hoolie out there, lashing with rain, so much rain. I'm glad I'm indoors and snug at home today. Still got the remnants of this pesky cold, I just can't seem to shake it. Never mind. Yeah, I'm glad I'm indoors. So yes, it was the clocks change last night, so we've gone an hour back. Normally when the clocks change, I would change all my clocks before bed, before going to bed, so that when I get up on the Sunday, the clocks are all showing the correct time for now that the clocks have gone back. Did I forget? Well, I knew the clocks were going back last night, so I hadn't forgotten that, but I don't know, I couldn't be bothered changing them last night. And I set my alarm for my normal time for Sunday, which is 8 o'clock, a little bit later on a Sunday. But of course that meant I was actually getting up at the new 7 o'clock. Fine, I've got loads to do, I can crack on. But I didn't get my extra hour in bed. And it made me think, it was reminding me of, oh my goodness, when I was nursing, for some reason I always seemed to get the night shift at this time of year on the clocks going back night. God, I hated it so much. You get to 2 o'clock in the morning, and I think it's at 2 o'clock that clocks officially change. So you get to 2 o'clock in the morning and you wind back to 1. But at 2 o'clock in the morning on a night shift, I've already been at work for 6.5 hours. It's the halfway point. I've got 6.5 hours left. Yay, I'm halfway. It's a long, long, long working day, 13 hours. I think back on it now and I think, oh my goodness, how did I do it? But on that night of the year, every year, it's hideous. You get to 2 o'clock and you think, I'm halfway, thank goodness for that. Clocks go back to 1 o'clock. So you haven't got 6.5 hours of the shift left. You've got 7.5 hours. It makes it a 14-hour shift, which to me is inhumane. We didn't get paid extra. The idea was that anyone who does the autumn shift where you do an extra hour of work, they also do the night shift in the spring that's 1 hour less. You don't get paid less in the spring, you get the same pay. So you get paid for a 13-hour shift, but you do a 12 in the spring, 13-hour shift pay in the autumn, but you do a 14-hour shift. Anyway, it never worked out. I never once did the spring shift as well. I used to request it, and whoever was doing the off-duty at that time would always say, oh, sorry Vivi, it's already been requested. And what bugged me would be requested by people who hadn't done the autumn one. They just want a shorter shift for the same money. I don't blame them. Those shifts were long, but yeah. So I reckon the NHS owes me about 100 quid for doing a few extra hours over the years. Anyway, the clocks have changed. I didn't do an extra hour of sleep last night, which I'm sort of kicking myself about. But on the other hand, great, I'm up and about. Get on with my day, loads to do. And I'm definitely, because the weather is so grotty out there, it's making me feel that wonderful kind of coziness and homeliness, and I do enjoy being at home. I think as in the run-up, from now until the run-up to Christmas, I won't mind days like this. I won't mind being at home and getting on with things. I've probably got some more ironing to do later. The smell is so lovely, isn't it? Once we get into January, I really won't be enjoying being stuck at home anymore. I will be longing and desperate to for spring to come, to have that garden time. I will, of course, have garden time over the winter. Where are we? We're about to, tomorrow's the 1st of November. I still got quite a few jobs to do in the garden. All the harvests are in now. Yay! Apart from those which, you know, the brassicas which stay in the garden and I just go and pick a little bit each week. But all the sort of the harvests that I grow, where I grow things in bulk, to sort of have one big harvest and then get things stored. Either there's quite a lot of stuff in the shed still, in the freezers. Actually, I thought what we might do, yeah, let's do, I think maybe in November, I'll try and get a bit more stuff back from the shed before, but I thought I'd do a little update video, what's in the pantry, Vivi? Stored produce, to show you what I've got to live on until... It's funny because if I talk about this now, people will say, and I show people say, how is that going to last you a whole year? Of course, it doesn't need to last me a year. It only really needs to last me until about July of next year, when the first harvests start coming in. And of course, hopefully, you've seen by now the broad beans are in. I'll have broad beans by the end of May, beginning of June. So actually all the stored produce that I've got now, some of it will last till next September probably. The squash, there's enough. But most of it, I'm only looking at this stuff keeping me going until July. So what's that? November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. About 9 months. So yeah, we'll do that video sometime in November. I've had to have a little rejig of the freezers. They were getting a bit full, and I've been trying to freeze my dried beans. I give them a 3-day freeze just to kill off any... I don't actually know what the bug is, but it's the one that if you don't freeze them, it can hatch in the spring, and you know, you've got your great big jars or tubs, however you store your dried beans over the winter, and you see them, they start to hatch and hop about in the jars, and it's really vile and disgusting and spoils the harvest. So lots of dried beans to freeze for 3 days. So I had a big rejig. All those seeds are now, they're seeds and their beans for eating, they're all in one drawer. And once they're finally all done, that means out of all my freezer space, I have one free drawer. Yay! I'm saying yay because that one free drawer now becomes the drawer that I fill up with ready meals. So as I'm making, you know, a big batch of whatever it is I'm making, whether it's a curry or fasolada. My neighbours just gave me a massive carrot so I can do fasolada, soups, whatever it is I'm making, I'll always make in bulk. I'll make about 4 portions of something, and then I can have one that day, keep one in the fridge to have in 2 or 3 days, but then I always put 2 portions in the freezer, so there's always something yummy, nutritious, good to eat, even if I haven't got the time or the energy to cook. So yay, that's all underway. I feel I've got to the end of October, and I feel a bit wiped out, if I'm honest. I am really, really tired, but happy. It's a happy tired. There's been a lot of juggling of a lot of different things, but it's always this point in the year when, you know, there's a sense of relief that all the harvests are in and now safe. Everything's safely stored. So that big priority of feeding myself tick, tick, done for another year. I think, you know, in truth as well, there's a relief that I'll get a bit of a break from the garden, which may sound a bit odd because I was just saying how being stuck indoors, I won't like it. When I say a break from the garden, it's the idea of not actually just having a break from being in the garden. I love being in the garden, even in winter, doing my little harvests each week or 2 or 3 times a week. It's more the idea of when I'm at home, anywhere sort of between March and the end of October, when I'm not in the garden and I'm doing something else, usually somewhere in the back of my mind, there's a little thought nagging me about something that needs doing in the garden. There's always something needs doing. It's the difference, I suppose, of planting a vegetable garden, which is brand new every year, as opposed to establishing a sort of, you know, a pleasure garden, flowers and shrubs, where, you know, a lot of things you plant them and then that's it, you leave them alone to grow, and you might trim them, prune them, deadhead them, what have you, but you know what I mean. So yeah, it does, I get to this time of year and I think, oh, thank goodness, sorry, I've got an itchy schnozzle today. I just don't think I could do another month of the intensity that the garden needs. And it's not even like, how to put it, it's not even necessarily the number of hours, because as you know, I've missed a lot of hours in the garden this year, hence the weeds. Oh, those weeds, honest to goodness. It's more that it's sort of, it's like it's a, how to put it, and please don't think I'm complaining, I'm not. It's just a fact of life if you're trying to, you know, live by what you grow. There's a time pressure to, you know, things do need doing by a certain time, whether it's sowing seeds or whatever it is, that there is a time pressure. And then within that, that's kind of globally for the whole year of planning the garden and making sure it happens. On a week-to-week basis, there's a pressure to get things done, but it's between other things. I suppose what I'm trying to say is, if I was a full-time farmer for one, me, and occasionally a few others, you know, and I feed someone else, if I was a full-time farmer for one, I don't think I'd feel the pressure, because I could just devote every day to it. Oh, I would love that. But of course, that's not, can you hear the wind lashing on the window? That's not real life, is it? There's all sorts of other things to be squeezed in as well. So as we go into winter now, you know, if it's a really grotty weather week, I won't be in the back of my mind worrying, thinking, well, when am I going to be able to do X, Y, Z in the garden? Because, you know, the garden's sort of on its way to looking after itself. There are some jobs to do. We'll get them done by the end of November. But yeah, over these coming weeks, it will almost feel like it will feel like time expands, because I won't be whizzing to the garden every spare minute. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yes, that's it as a bit of a summary for the garden. It's, like I said, I will be there at times over the winter, and over the winter there are a few things to do. So excuse me a sec. Oh, of course, the wonderful planning part. I can't wait to get on with the planning. The seed sorting. I was mentioning it the other day? Oh no, it's a video you haven't seen yet. I made a video the other day that hasn't come out yet. You'll see it in a couple of days though. Hope you'll enjoy it. So it's sorting out the seeds, deciding well, trying to make a decision, a final decision about what am I going to grow next year. And of course, the daft thing is with growing is all through the summer, I was already thinking about next year. I think we all do that, don't we? Us who grow veggies. As soon as something's in the ground, we're already thinking about that thing next year. We're always assessing as we go. Oh, this isn't doing so well, I don't think I'll do it next year. Or, oh, this is doing brilliantly, maybe I should do more of them next year. Great. Great, great, great. So, yes, got a good store of food for which I'm really, really grateful. Going to have a bit of a rest from the garden, turn my attention to indoor things again. Been saying it for months and months and months, but hopefully get on with some sewing. I've got loads of something to do in the evening type jobs, as in all that lavender, that massive lavender harvest. I'm going to have to blow my nose, excuse me a second. Sorry about that, I don't know, I've just got the most insanely itchy nose. Yes, so take a break from the garden and really I've mentioned, did I mention it was last winter we were going into? I can't remember now. But I was saying how I'm really, really not a winter person. I'm definitely a summer person. It's funny, isn't it, how we're all, you know, we can be distinctly one or the other. I suppose rather similarly to how, you know, folk are distinctly morning people, others night owls. I'm definitely a night owl. Yeah, all the larks when they say, oh, you're missing the best part of the day. No, you're not. You're missing the best part of the day, the night time. Anyway, yeah, I'm distinctly a summer person. Warmth, light, sunshine, and just that whole, it's sort of, there's a sort of a laissez-faire that comes over folk when it's a really hot, sunny day. Going slowly, lovely. Whereas in the winter, it's sort of like, everyone's grumpy and walking down the street really fast and no one wants to stop and say hello and chat. However, having said that, I used to really, really, really dread winters. In the last couple of years, I've tried to change my mindset a bit to think of it more, you know, when I think about how much I love being outside and how much I love the garden and the birds and the bees and the butterflies and all that, is to try and embrace winter. I can't ever embrace it as much as I embrace summer, but try to embrace it as just a part of that same thing that summer was, which is a natural cycle. And when I think about, you know, the garden is having a rest during the winter, so should I. You know, we can't be in summer every day. If every day was summer, maybe I wouldn't like summer. Anyway, the long and the short, what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to embrace it. I'm going to try to embrace the hug. I'm going to try to embrace the coziness. Obviously, there's lots of work stuff I can do in the winter, sewing, blah, 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 needle and thread sewing. Maybe some experimenting with some new recipes. People are always often asking me to do some more recipe videos. There's a couple of reasons I haven't really, and that is, one, I've done a load already, and the load that I've done already is generally what I eat. But also setting up to film a cooking video. Generally I'm cooking because I'm hungry, and I do not want the faff of filming. I just want to get my food cooked so I can get it in my belly. But maybe, no promises, but maybe I might experiment a little bit this winter and try 2 or 3 new things. I saw, and I'm kicking myself now, I'm not much of a one for using recipe books. I've got a few, they've been gifts over the years, and most of them, you know, there'll be 1 or 2 things in them that I've seen that I think, oh, I like that, and I've adjusted it a bit to suit my palate, but I really, really don't use them. However, I'm so kicking myself. I was in a charity shop. It was in the summer. It was some point in the summer. I can't even remember where. It might have been down at my great aunt's, and I was waiting for the train to come home, and I was a bit early, so I'd gone into the charity shop to browse, and I saw a book, and I didn't buy it, and I've been kicking myself since. And since then, I've been going into charity shops looking specifically for not necessarily the same book, but something similar. It was a book of Greek recipes, but it was all vegetarian. Loads of Greek food is vegetarian. It's not sold as vegetarian, it just happens that it's all vegetables. And I love, 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 love my Greek food. I love chickpea soup. I love my fasolada. So maybe that's something I can experiment with. Let's see if there's maybe some more of those lovely, lovely Greek dishes that I've eaten far too many of over the years. I haven't been back to Greece since... The last time I was in Greece was, I think, 2005. And it was around about then that I was beginning to make the decision that I didn't want to use aeroplanes anymore. I could go back to Greece. It would just mean a lot of trains across Europe. Oh my God, I would love that too. Maybe my slightly older, achy body wouldn't like it so much. But yeah, I haven't been in Greece for a long, long time. But, I mean, I was... Almost every summer I used to spend in Greece, in some part of Greece, on the islands, on the mainland, cycling around the Peloponnese. Love, 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 love me a bit of the Balkans. And the food. I think it's probably one of the reasons I enjoyed going to Greece and kept going back over and over and over again so many times, is because the food options for me were fantastic. I mean, never mind that there were more options, brilliant, variety. But like I said, the food is gorgeous. So yeah, I'm kicking myself that I didn't pick up that recipe book. I might have a little look online, see if I can pick one up secondhand. I think that would be worth it actually, because then that's something I would really happily, definitely share with you guys in videos. So yes, hug time for winter. What are you all going to do this winter? I'm wondering if some of you have got, like me, a patchwork that, you know, you maybe sort of pick it up in the winter months and then put it away and it never gets finished. Did you put away a project back in the spring unfinished because you got busy in the garden or other outdoor stuff, and now is the time to get it out again? I know that lots of you are knitters and crocheters. I never know how to... Is it crocheters or... Yeah, I don't want to call you crotcheters, that just sounds wrong. But I'm sure amongst all of us, winter in a way represents kind of a time when we can do more crafting, even though the light's not so great, but maybe not feel quite so guilty for getting on with our crafting, because, well, we can't be in the garden, can we? So yeah, what are you all planning to get up to over winter to kind of keep the winter blues at bay? You know, like I said, by January I won't be this chipper about winter. I nearly swore, I'll be thoroughly blooming miserable about it. I always am, never mind. The one thing I do though, and it really, even though I don't care about the weather, I will get to the garden at least once a week from now right through till next March, because my food is down there, or some of my food is down there, the brassicas. Even if it's a really holy, howling, sopping wet day like today. In fact, perversely, I kind of almost like that too. Oh yeah, it's that thing, isn't it, of you have to have something ready for when you get back. But to go out on a day like today, where really it's foul. It's not cold particularly, but it's the combination of really strong wind and just lashing rain. Go out on a day like today, to go to the garden, to do my harvesting, not a single cat in sight. And then that joy of coming home, dripping wet, dripping wet, get out of all your wet clothes, put on pyjamas or sweatpants, whatever it is that you lounge around in at home, put on warm, clean, dry clothes, and eat a bowl of soup. Oh, that's the perfect thing about this weather, isn't it? Is it makes soup taste even more gorgeous. And I suddenly really, really fancy tomato soup. I think that's probably, this itchy nose. I think that's probably a memory from childhood, actually, the association of tomato soup. Heinz tomato soup. Well, we couldn't afford Heinz, so it was, supermarket own brand or supermarket simple brand, 9p a can instead of Heinz being 50p a can or whatever. But yeah, getting cold and wet and thoroughly bedraggled, getting out of your wet clothes into something warm and snuggly and having a lovely bowl of tomato soup. Oh, bliss. I don't know that I will be making any tomato soup this winter. Not straight tomato soup. I will use tomatoes in soup, but because of getting blight, obviously that really massively reduced my harvest by, I reckon it was probably about 2/3 of the harvest was either lost or the potential for it was lost. So when did I get blight? I think it was about the middle of August, and at that stage I still had a few portions of tomatoes left from last year, so I immediately sort of said to myself, right, tomatoes are rationed. So this summer, for example, I really didn't have any fresh tomatoes. I mean, I had maybe 3 or 4 salads, goriatiki, Greek salad, with fresh tomatoes, but otherwise, no. It's not a year of having them fresh, it's a year for getting them preserved to last all through the winter. So, yeah, I probably won't be making any straight up tomato soup, because if I'm just making a plain tomato soup, I would be using 2 of those portions of frozen tomatoes. Whereas if I make like my beta carotene, beta cold soup, that will have 1 portion of tomatoes and other stuff added. So still got that gorgeous tomatoey taste, but yeah, not a straight up tomato soup. Koriatiki, see, now I've said koriatiki. I want Greek salad. I want Greek salad. How long am I going to have to wait? What did I just say a minute ago? If food to last, it's going to be at least 9 months before I eat a fresh tomato again. I really, it's all creaking and groaning. Can you hear my roof creaking and groaning? Yeah, I feel really bereft because, like I said, with hardly having any fresh tomatoes this summer, the last fresh tomatoes, the very last ones I ate were about September 2020. So I'm going to have gone nearly from September 2020 through to July 2022 without a fresh tomato. That is one of the joys of growing one's own and eating fresh, eating seasonally as much as possible, is it's like, oh, I'm missing things right now, tomatoes and cucumbers, but it makes me appreciate them so much more when they do come. We get to about June next year and I'll be starting to salivate just thinking about those products coming. Likewise, and I think I said this summer at some point, whilst I get into that kind of tomatoey, cucumbery thing again in the summer, and I love it. And then by about mid-August, it's not so much that I'm sick of them, I'm not, but I start to think about other things and I start to fantasize about my winter food, like cabbage pie. and it'll be the middle of summer, it'll be the middle of a heat wave, and I'm fantasising about eating a cabbage pie. So yay, that's another thing to embrace with winter, isn't it? Is all our lovely winter foods that we don't eat in the summer, but we eat again in the winter. So I think I'm going to have to stop talking. I think, despite the foulness of the weather, I suddenly have a deep desire to go to the garden, harvest some kale, some Portuguese cabbage, whatever it is, get myself home and make myself a nice cabbage pie for my supper tonight. Ooh, yay. All right, lovelies, yes, I've rattled on. I was going to talk about something completely different today that has been on my mind. That can wait for another day. That's how it goes sometimes. But actually, you know, this month in particular, in the whole year, okay, it's month 54, but it being the end of October, it really is, in so many ways, this point each year is all about that reflection of the beginning of the end of that garden and how well it's done and what food have I got stored, and it's kind of like, it's now the gateway into winter, this day each year. So it's proper doing it winter out there today. Vivi, go and put your big coat on, girl. Get down to the garden and get harvesting. All right, lovelies, I will see you again really soon, I hope. Yes, we'll be back in the garden. I filmed some footage in the garden a couple of days ago because I knew we had this foul weather coming and setting in, and there were a couple of things, specific things I wanted to get done before the worst of the weather, so you'll see that in a few days. Until then, please look after yourselves and each other. You know, that's the other thing about winter, is as we all spend a bit more time indoors, behind closed doors, we maybe see less of our neighbours, less of our plot neighbours, less of our friends in the high street as we're out and about shopping. Make a sort of a mental note to yourself that from time to time, just check in with those friends, because you may not see them in the garden. Like I said, we're all behind closed doors, and maybe they would love to hear from you, just to say, hey, sorry I don't see you at the garden so much these days, how are you doing? All right, lovelies, until the next one, cheerio.